So, good morning everyone, and welcome to the 16th edition of QED conference. It's great to see so many familiar faces, and it's also wonderful to see so many of you who are here for the first time. We really prepared a lot in these 2 days, and my dear colleagues Ivan Krnic, our Director of Engineering, and Joachim Gucker, one of the Managing Directors of CrossDACH, we will together walk you through the agenda that we have prepared for these 2 days. My name is Krešimir Musa, I'm the CTO of Cross. So the agenda that we have prepared for these 2 days has several very important topics, one of them being platform engineering, another one being enterprise modernization, and of course the third one being industrialization of artificial intelligence, something that we talked about a lot in the previous edition last year. But before we go further into details of each of these important topics, I know someone who can explain how is it all related to the concept of playground that we heard about yesterday. Ivan, please.
Thank you, Krešo. So, you all must be wondering how on earth did we come up with a topic of playground. Well, to be honest, we dealt with some very serious topics last couple of years. We talked about value, we talked about future-proof, we talked about trust. And these are still important topics, and they will always be important topics. And precisely because they are important topics, we need to innovate in them. And to innovate in these areas, we need to loosen up a bit, and we need to introduce a little bit of a play. Because play is not the opposite of work. Rather, work is an extension of play. Therefore, please, during these, consider this whole conference as a large playground, a large joint playground. And in this playground, we will have a lot of talks. And every year, we do our best to make the content as relevant as possible. And we create the agenda by combining industry trends and our clients' organizational goals. And there will be a couple of these important industry trends this year. One of them is definitely platform engineering. And you will see the notion of platform in most of the talks these 2 days. So today, high noon, we will have an awesome panel session on building platforms. And tomorrow morning, we will start strong with a birds of a feather session where we will exchange experience in building platforms. And then later on, tomorrow, we will have a plenary talk by Max Griffiths from ThoughtWorks. Max will share how building software platforms is very similar to real-life construction work in English countryside. So I'm very much looking forward to that talk. Joachim?
And we have this year conference in the conference, the Mighty Mainframe at QED. It's the first time. A lot of great people here, both to listen, discuss, and also to present. And we're going to talk about the skills gap, the notorious skills gap. We're going to talk about application modernization, about DevOps, DevSecOps, which is very central. We have Rosalind as a keynote speaker in both parts of the conference, so that will be here. And we will also have the topic of AI on and with the mainframe, also with this notion of industrialized AI. And this track will start here at Fortis, outside, over there, and then we will return back here for Rosalind's keynote.
Yeah, and the third main topic, as I said in the introduction, is the AI thing. Those of you who were there last year, you will remember we had several very interesting panel sessions and presentations last year in which we discussed whether something that was rather new at the time, the language models, GPTs, and those kinds of things, will they replace us, remove us from the industry? Of course, none of those terrible scenarios happened, but we gained a lot of experience, both us in Cross, of you in your projects, kinds of technologies during the previous year. So in several talks that we have prepared, we will try to walk you through those experiences. For example, my colleagues, Damir and Hrvoje, will talk about different kinds of important things that we learned in the virtual assistant kinds of projects, so retrieval, augmented generation. So that will be very interesting. Then our friends from Datev will talk about how they used these technologies in building the summarization features in their environment. That's kind of a continuation of what they talked about in the previous edition of QED about anonymization. Those of you who were there will probably remember. Also on Tuesday, we will talk about how some of the industry's state-of-the-art platforms can support AI kinds of projects. For example, OpenShift in this case from Red Hat. So people from Red Hat and some people from Cross will be talking about these things. These are, of course, not the only one, the only talks about AI. There are a couple of more, so please go into the agenda for more details. We also have a couple of talks from our sponsors, which are related to the AI topics, but Joachim will say more about sponsors.
Yes, so the first thing, we really are very thankful for our sponsors. It's cool to have him here. It's cool to have your support to do something like this, like QED. I mean, most of the names will be, I think, very familiar to everybody in the industry. So I don't need to introduce Cloudera, Octopus Deploy. If you don't know them, and deploying software is something you need to know, then you should know them too. And you're almost the team that travel farthest from New Zealand and Australia. We have one great customer from the Philippines, I think, but that's the max. Next time we need to leave the planet. Delinea, perhaps more a special product that not everybody knows. It's about privileged access management, and they're part of Ingram. Rocket Software, great software company from the US for many years, and having done a lot for the mainframe space through IBM products, through their own products, bringing serviced open source to the mainframe too. So we're proud of having them. Our friends, especially from the DACH market, Profi, thank you for being here too. We really love working with you in not only mainframe space, in AI, in IBM and Red Hat. So yeah, great to have you. And somehow Lenovo and one more is not on the slide. So, but as Vedrana said, thank you too. And yeah. Then we have, as I said before, we have tracks. We cannot squeeze all of this in one serial sequence. So we have two QED tracks, A and B. And we have the Mighty Mainframe track that we call track C. And every track has its own moderator. And it's good to know who those people are. So we have Luca Gauta doing the track A moderation. Then Josip, who you saw yesterday here on the panel, and also if you were at the pub quiz. And Maria is helping us to moderate the mainframe track. So as we are a small group, that's probably the hardest one, because it's going dynamic.
We introduced Slido yesterday, and I hope you bookmarked this page. If not, I will now talk annoyingly slowly, like in Zootopia, to provide you enough time to scan this barcode. Because all the interaction today and tomorrow will be happening through this, so please bookmark this page. If not now, there will be some barcodes around the room later on also. Joachim already introduced Rosalind. We have more keynote speakers. So as I mentioned before, in order to innovate, we need to play. In order to play, we need to dare. And what we could do if we weren't afraid, that's what our Tuesday keynote, Michal Oshman, will help us discover. So this will be super interesting keynote tomorrow. Don't miss it. And finally, with everything that's going on lately in the software development industry, it's hard to find an anchor, somebody stable enough to separate the chaff from the wheat. And sadly, there are only few such people in the world, but we are grateful that one of them is with us here today for the second time at the QED conference. So ladies and gentlemen, the book author, the thought leader, but I would say above everything else, our friend, Sam Newman. Sam.